it's fall, it's time. I mean, we were in Cedar Rapids yesterday, we'll be in Des Moines on Monday. We have press day today. We have a room full of guys that I think are ready to go as well. And so you're always fired up, but at the same time, you don't want to, appear to be a raving lunatic, even though, there's probably a lot of emotions that go into the job every day when, there's things that are behind the scenes that, that really kind of, when you're a competitor, you learn to, you let the things kind of urge you that need to urge you, but you try to like downplay them. Like to you, there's a lot of things that you don't say right now because of the expense of being a raving lunatic. But I don't remember not remembering. I remember remembering, meaning I remember. Right? Follow that in your heads. You can't unsay what you said in the past. And I think, I remember what was said. That's where loyalty comes into play. We know who's loyal and we know who the detractors are. And I'm not talking about code there, I'm not talking code. In encryption, that's not encrypted. That's simply that when we walked off the mat in certain events last year, there's a lot of gobbledygook, and they can't undo that. So here we are, we're coming back. So how fired up am I? Hey, it's time again.
Coach, what do you like about having Gilman and Clark on at the same time, having Gilman 125 and Clark at 133 this year?
It's good. I mean, it's good, and I think it's a natural more than anything because Clark came to us about moving up a weight. And I think that if Clark had wanted to stay down, I don't think Gilman was moving up. So I think we would have had an issue there where you probably would have had an early season controversy, then one guy would have had to move up, and this works better. And Clark came to us in June or early July, and it was basically a quick conversation. And so it works out good that way, and then certainly the personnel. And both those guys are super capable, but there's no automatics. And when you look at Shop and you look at Beckman at 33, and then you look at Nashawn Garrett, and you look at Delgado at 25. I mean the challenges are there, and it doesn't really matter the preseason rankings. I think we're probably a little bit low at 125. I mean, there's guys ranked ahead of us that we haven't lost to and have beaten several times. But those are preseason rankings as well. And it kind of goes along with us being number one. And Minnesota had the majority of the number one vote, but yeah, we'll take it. And we gotta prove it every week, and not just when we meet big dual meets head on, but this weekend, next weekend, the weekend after that. And then just keep going. I mean, Midlands is 29th and 30th of every year. The Big Ten schedule is getting tougher. Everybody talks about the Big Ten. We are concerned with the Big Ten, but we are also concerned with the nation. And the Big Ten has national implications. But you add 2 more schools, you add 1 more dual meet a year. Now we go from 8 to 9. All of a sudden, early January, you got a Big Ten weekend there on the 2nd and 4th, which is it's hard to do. You got Midlands on the 29th and 30th of December, the 2nd and 4th, you got a Big Ten dual meet. So you balance that, and you're talking to your team, and you train your team to get ready for that grind, and to really, grab hold of it and love it. I mean, love it, because the national championship is going to be on the road. It'll be on the road. It'll be in Columbus, Ohio, for the Big Tens. It'll be in St. Louis. And it'll be on the road at 4 big dual meets at Oklahoma State, at Penn State, at Minnesota, and at Ohio State.
When you talk about that grind and adding the extra dual, would you like to see, or would you be favorable, like running a triangular where you maybe have Nebraska and Minnesota come in or anything like that?
There's no better thing than the dual mean, I don't mean to stop in your question, but there's no better thing than the dual meet. I mean, that's probably the thing that the track purists will tell you that they departed from, that probably hurt track and field the most, is they went more away from the dual meet. It's more about you split your teams and go to places to get times and to qualify for, not even qualifying for the national, I think you're qualifying for the regionals to go to the nationals. So, I mean, I understand that you want to do well nationally, but I mean, those national duels that have national ranking implications, or where it's Iowa against Oregon, you know, in Eugene, Oregon. I mean, that's what I would live for as a competitor in track and field. And so you can't really water it down that way. Here's what I would say. I think you got to have the dual meets in wrestling. Keep that going, because that's what you got going for you. But, you know, you add 2 teams to the Big Ten, it's not a grind because those 2 teams are added to the Big Ten. It's a grind because now you have another date that's a Big Ten school, and you still have Iowa State, you still have Oklahoma State, you still want to travel and promote, you know, 1 or 2 other dates. And like last year, we went to Edinburgh and Lehigh, and you know, those were 2 beehives that we were going into. So, you know, when you add another dual meet, it's harder to do. It's another, you know, so, you know, read between the lines. That's a long answer. So I hope that answered your question without me being too rude. But I think you have to have the dual meets.
Right, and I agree with that. But I mean, having 2 duels, you know, having Minnesota, Nebraska,
Same night.
and you meet at the same night is a
Old
trying.
high school double duel.
No.
Yeah, listen. Here's the thing. I mean, I went to an event in California. It was the best wrestling event for me because I'm a wrestling guy, and this was a couple years ago. And the Russians were there. There were some Canadians there. And we wrestled the Russians, and we wrestled the Canadians, and there were 2 matches. That event was like 183 minutes. There's nobody that sat there for 183 minutes and watched those matches. Nobody wants to sit for 20 or 30 matches. I mean, you can only eat so much popcorn and ice cream or whatever. My point is that these 10 matches where it's 100 minutes or 110 minutes maybe, it's under 2 hours. I mean, that's perfect.
Okay.
That's perfect. Don't mess with that. And it's kind of like, you know, in having the conversation with Gary Barta last spring, and you know how he thinks and how he grasps the idea that, hey, we got a really good thing here with the national tournament the way it is. Let's not mess with it. And then when I explained to him what we're trying to do as a sport, but where we're not on that page, meaning our coaching staff, where other programs aren't on that page as well, and it's almost like you're split down the middle. So why are you going to change it if there's 50% that are for the way it is and 50% the way it isn't? And my point there is that common sense has to prevail sometimes, and that's where the first question is what are you going to do differently? Well, we're going to do a lot of things differently as far as getting our guys better. I mean, I'm going to work differently today with our individuals than I did yesterday with them. But do we just go a completely different direction? No. So, triangulars, man, that's a long night for somebody who's looking for some fireworks.
All right, we'll head downstairs. The wrestlers will be available.